This isn't the Bureau's first time in Bright Falls. 1970, 76, 8. Last one was in 2010. It's not exactly clockwork, but this town sees way more altered world events than most. We knew it was just a matter of time before the lake acted up again. After the AWE in 2010, the FBC's research department set up a facility, the Lake House, to study the Threshold and Cauldron Lake, find better ways to contain the entity inside. Your tax dollars at work.
Welcome to Between the Joysticks. Press start and then we're off. Nick and John, they've got the sauce. Breaking news and some hot takes. Even if there's some mistakes, Nick is captaining the ship, while John gives thoughts straight from the hip. But when their powers combine, we're all in for a hell of a time. Between the Joysticks, it's the best. Up to 6 things they will address. Tell all your friends and settle in. Between the Joysticks now begins.
Hello there, and welcome to the best video game podcast in the world, Between the Joysticks. It is episode 117, and I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by my co-host, John. John, long time no see. We are back in the recording booth after a 2-week hiatus.
After you left us. After you said, I have other better things to do in other states.
Nothing better. No, don't let them fool you, listeners. There's nothing more than I want to do is be here and talking about video games. So.
That's true. If you could travel and talk about video games, and that there's the sweet spot. But
yeah, that one day when we record an episode in Japan, that'll be the greatest day of my life.
Yeah.
Some say we may never come back to the States, but
I already have my waifu picked out, and
she cosplays as 2B.
I mean, who doesn't over there? I'm pretty sure they all do.
in your head,
in my head,
in your
least,
fantasy.
Yes. Well, welcome back, Nick. Yes, it's been a minute. 2 weeks of video games to discuss.
Yeah. There's been some news, more releases, more reviews, more games to play. It seems like we never run out. They just keep coming.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's one of I always talk about maybe not on the show, but God's cruel jokes, right? Of making these delicious things be horrible for us, right? Or whatever the case is. But
yes.
But yeah, one of God's nice things is He's just always media to consume.
Yeah, we're not even going to talk about it, but Black Ops. Oh, we are going to talk about it. You're going to bring.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it a little bit.
We're going to talk a little bit Black Ops 6, but we're not playing the game itself, and that's another big thing that's just out, and it's like that's not even in my purview, and it's just
that's happening more and more. Especially with me, right? Like this past 2 months, it's just like metaphor. I don't know. Dragon Age not going to touch you. Like Star Wars Outlaws. It's just you kind of. It's crazy. It's hard. I don't know how people do it.
Well, I know, especially for you,
yeah.
Anything that gets a good review, you're eyeing.
But that's okay because we have some of those to talk about, and they're perfect for me.
Yeah,
for a quick little gaming.
That's true. That is true. All right, so I mean, we got a lot of talk about. So should we just get into the show then?
Yeah, let's get into it. No need to try
and
make lame jokes and things.
We're going to ditch our format of 3 things each that we normally do on this show. We're just going to kind of go bounce back and forth between things that we want to talk about. But if you want to get in touch with us, if you want to be heard on this show, this is how you do it. You can follow us on Twitter at JoysticksPod. DM us there. You can comment on our YouTube page at Between the Joysticks if you want to be heard on the show. And finally, and obviously the most easiest way is the email in, and that email address is betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com, just like our regular listeners have done once again.
So real quick, I got to interrupt, Nick. Just for those non-American listeners, I want you all to know I've received my second political phone call of this podcast already. So please put us out of our misery.
Yep. We're 8 days away from the election here in the United States, and I can't wait for it to be over.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about it. Let's talk to Jesse or Julio. I don't know which.
Yes, our first email is from returning commenter, writer in Julio. And this is an interesting one. Hey guys, thanks for reading my first question. I really enjoyed hearing your thoughts about y'all's. Oh, here we go again. Y'all's earliest PlayStation memories. I have another question for you guys now. Do you guys recommend getting a PS3 right now in 2024? Or is it a better idea to just pay for the premium subscription and stream PS3 games from PS Plus? I've been wanting to play certain first and third party PS3 games, but can't justify to pay the extra money for a subscription where I'll only stream a portion of the catalog. Would really like to hear your all thoughts on this. Also, sorry for all of the y'alls in the first email. I tried to dial it down a notch in this one. I'm from Texas, so it's a highly used word in my vocabulary. Anyways, thanks again, and keep up the good work. I don't mind at all. I just
I love it.
Dialect is funny.
I love it, but I also
way.
do have a follow-up question, Julio. So in your email, you say, I really enjoyed hearing your thoughts about y'all's earliest PlayStation memories. And then in the following sentence, you say, I have another question for you guys. What determines the y'all or the you guys or the you? Like, I'm just, I'm curious. It's interesting. But I'm sure there's no rhyme or reason to it. You just do what you do. Anyway, regarding the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, John, do you buy one now?
It is interesting. When I read this question, I think I had a very specific answer. And then as I started to look into it a little more, I kind of changed a bit. I'm a full believer that Sony will figure out a way to get these PlayStation 3 games current. I don't know when. I don't know if it's going to be onesie twosies, whatever the case. So it could be soon or it could be 5 to 10 years from now. I don't know, but I do think they'll eventually do it. Now, that being said, my initial response was going to be you should just wait and just not worry about playing these are the absolute games you have to play. I would just subscribe, and if they're on there, play them and then unsubscribe. However, thinking about it more and doing a little bit of research, looking on eBay, things like that, I'm kind of leaning towards the side of if these are really important games for you to play, especially now, right? If you don't have backlog games, other games that can give you the enjoyment that like an Infamous or Metal Gear Solid 4 would, like you just really want to play those, I would say buy the PS3. You can get one on eBay for like $50. I kind of, for some reason in my head, thought they were more like in the 120, 150 range. And like at that point, I don't know if it's worth it, but Nick and I are both physical guys. We appreciate that level of, just media consumerism where we have the things. I know it's there. If I have the disc, I can play it. So I think it's a good future-proofing thing as well. But you just have to make sure that you, Julio, are like, I'm going to buy this thing and I'm going to play these games. Like, if you're not going to buy it and play them, Nick yells at me all the time for this. If you're not going to buy it, play it now, you might as well wait. Because there could be a thing where it's like you just want the PS3 to play Infamous, a couple others, and Metal Gear Solid 4, and then in 2 months, PlayStation says, cool, we got those ported over, and then you kind of wasted your money. So it really is one of those, Julio, I think, that you kind of... I would want to know what specific games you're looking to play, because another side of this coin is a game like Puppeteer, which is a second-party PlayStation 3 game. To buy that on eBay is like $60. So, like, there is a world where you're going to spend more money depending what the games are. And there's also a world where the console could break. Like, that's the other thing. Like, I had a launch PS3. It had that dumb little chip in it. It overheated, and I never bothered to get it fixed. But I know they eventually fixed that with some of the later iterations. But it's a hard one. It's a hard one to answer. But, like, I kind of like the idea of if there's a couple you can do, you can get it all in for $120, and that's what you want to do.
What game would you recommend that's PS3 locked?
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah,
would be the one. I mean, but that's also that's kind of my point. That's the number one game I would think internally that they're like, we got to figure out a way to get this over, right? If it is onesie twosies with the cell architecture like they seem to say, I would hope that that's towards the top of the list. But I don't have a lot of knowledge in my head of what are even landlocked besides the Infamous games and Metal Gear Solid.
You got Resistance, you got Killzone 1 through 3. Folklore. Yeah, a lot of all the Uncharted games have come over.
So yeah, with those list of games, Julio, I mean, this is me. Metal Gear Solid 4 is the only one worth it for me, probably. But
well, the other side is if you're a collector. Now, if you're a collector and say you get like the launch PS3, that plays PS2 games. So now you're opening up a whole other library of games, and the PS2 library of games is insane.
The launch PS3 is the missing link of the PlayStation world. If you have one of those and a PS4 and a PS5 and handhelds, you have everything. Right. So I don't know, Julio, how much of a retro boy are you? I don't know.
Yeah, because when you start getting into the price, you are paying a pretty penny to get these older games. I mean, if you're thrifty, you can find if you're going to like garage sales and stuff. That's people seem to
Mom
find
and
that
pop
stuff all the
stores.
time. In fact, there's some collector I remember. He's like, there must have been a big garage sale in Texas because all these listings come up for all these games. It's like, yeah, someone either died or their grandparents
Dude, I saw-
handed them down, and all
saw
of
a
a sudden,
dude went-
people don't know what they have.
Yeah. Oh, a guy went garage hunting and found a Super Nintendo in box with wrapped games.
Yeah.
And I think he I think ended up walking away like $500. Like it was still like I think the
Right.
guy knew, but not
New.
right? Like there might have even been like a Super Mario Brothers in there. It's like, dude, you probably just got 10 grand worth of shit.
Right.
But
I think if you're in the collection route, but I don't know. Yeah, to John's point, it's like, what are you gonna play? Is the real question, and is it worth, paying a significant price? Unless you got eyes on one. I'm sure the slim PS3s are the cheap, the ones the iterative ones that just play
the
PS3
one that looks
games.
like the George Foreman grill. That
Yeah.
you slide the top on.
Yeah.
Ugh. My dad had one of those. I hated it.
I don't know. I'm also a bad person to ask because I hate older games and older 3D games because they look rough.
It's tough. Yeah, and that's like ultimately, Julio, like, well, it's a question that, I think you probably knew this when you wrote the email. Like, it's a question you can only really answer for yourself. But I will say the barrier of entry is not nearly as high as I thought it would to just buy the thing. But you are playing with fire. These aren't Super Nintendos and things that last forever. The more complicated these machines become, the easier they can have a failure. Obviously, the Red Ring of Death is the most famous one in history, but PlayStation 3s could be fickle too. So just know that, if you do go that route, it might not be a permanent solution, and but it could also be a stopgap. It's really up to you, buddy. If you got a backlog that you want to crush through, if you just have to play Infamous 1 for some reason. But also hit us up if you're just looking for some video game recommendations. Like if you're just like, yeah, I don't know, and be like, okay, there's some stuff we can, maybe one that we'll talk about later in the show.
I mean, if you're a big PlayStation person, there's a lot of PlayStation history there. Like I said, I like a Killzone. Guerrilla's like first big franchise, and Infamous and Resistance, which some crazy people out there want Insomniac to go back to that, which
I like it. I wouldn't sacrifice Spider-Man for it, but I like it.
Or Wolverine.
Or
yeah. It's an interesting period in the PlayStation history. So I would think if you're gonna do it, go at it from like a collector standpoint.
Yeah. Do you think there's I wish I paid attention to this a little more maybe, but like if he doesn't buy a PS3 today and then he decides 5 years from now I want one.
The orange box, that's another one.
That is a good one.
I forgot about the orange box.
But he decides 5 years from now he wants one because Sony's just like, nah, fuck you, we're never gonna put this shit on there. I wonder if the cost of the machine will balloon up to the point where it's like he'll like regret not doing it now. I don't know, and so I don't want to put that little bug in your ear, but I don't know. I would maybe look at the cost of OG PlayStations right now and just see like, are they? I don't know.
And we're not
making any more of them, so eventually they are going to start dropping off. Where it does become a.
And it's like we're not keeping up with like what's getting ported, like what is on premium right now as far as like the PS3 game catalog. Yeah. John's gonna try and look it up.
Yeah, I'll be.
It's not even worth it. It's probably not the majority of the games, but I would be curious. I want to be a fly in the wall. What would be PlayStation's plan as far as like getting as many of those games?
I mean, you should
as possible on there.
It's legitimately shouldn't even be a business decision, but a like honoring your past kind of legacy decision. Like,
yeah,
not saying it should be a top priority.
They've been tackling PS1 games first, and they're giving them trophy support, so they're doing the work. But I wonder. I'd be curious as to where they internally at Sony say like what PlayStation Premium looks like in 10 years. Does it have a breadth of PS1 through PS3 games in it?
At some point, they're going to start putting 4s in there. At some point, we get far enough away. Or I don't know. No, because those are just there. Like you can't. Yeah, everything on PS4 should be playable.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if the PS6 isn't as compatible.
I mean, that's maybe.
Is there a world where the PS6 doesn't play?
They want to let Microsoft back into the race.
It'll never.
No, there's no world.
Because if it plays PS5 games, then it'll play PS4 games. Yeah. So, all right. Are we ready to move on to the next one?
Yep. Hopefully that helps a little bit, Julio, or we didn't spin in a circle and you said, great, guys, I have no more information. Thanks.
All right. Our next email is from Jesse. It is a lengthy one. I wanted to write in about Nick's Game of the Year for 2015. Spoilers. Batman Arkham Knight. And we're not going to go into our Game of the Year flashback, but he is correct. That is going to be my Game of the Year for 2015.
He knows you so well.
I pinged him
Clearly
on.
he didn't play Bloodborne.
I pinged him on PlayStation when I saw that he was about to do what he's going to talk about here.
Okay.
I got the platinum last week and wanted to give some thoughts and ask for yours. I love this game. It's the best superhero game I've ever played, and it's not perfect, but I think it stands up to so many other games releasing now. The art style and the lighting are amazing, especially when it rains. The neon signs light up and break up the darkness of Gotham. It's so pretty to look at. The fighting and combat is top tier, and the free flow system is perfect. Other games have tried to replicate it, but they don't come close. The fear takedowns are so satisfying to perform, and the stealth is at its finest. It's cliche, but I really do feel like Batman when I'm playing this game. The Batmobile is so much fun to drive, and the sound design for it was perfect. The tank combat was pretty fun at the start of it, but it did get repetitive, especially after doing all the side stuff. The story is almost perfect. I love doing all the side quests and cleaning up the rogues, except for the damn riddles. I would have liked the Deathstroke boss to not just be a copy and paste of the Arkham Knight tank battle. I think the main story was awesome, and the Arkham Knight twist was well done, but I wasn't a fan of the Nightfall Protocol. It made perfect sense for Bruce Wayne to do what he had to do to protect the people he cares about, but it felt just like a copy of the Dark Knight Rises ending. Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill were amazing as always, and I loved Batman fighting the Joker within him. There were times where Batman was genuinely scary. To get the platinum, I had to complete the game twice with the Nightfall ending, plus do all the AR challenges and do a bunch of combat and tank trophies. It took a very long time to do the Riddler stuff, but once it's all done, they all carry over to New Game Plus. Completing the game on Nightmare mode was hard but not impossible, and it only took me about 25 hours on the second playthrough. Overall, I give this game a 9 out of 10. If you're a Batman fan, then it's a must-play, and I challenge Nick to get the platinum. What do you guys think? Nick, what did you think of the story, side quest, comment, etc.? I want to hear all your thoughts. Apologies for the long-ass email again. I'm looking forward to the next episode as always.
This email did make something in my brain make more sense on why you were playing Arkham Knight over the weekend. I was like, what are you doing?
I was trying to get the trophy that I get stuck on every time in that game. Yeah, I technically have all the trophies on Xbox, but I do not have the platinum on PlayStation.
All right, well, let me get me out of the way because I know this is
Yeah,
basically
I
a new
don't
question.
know. Yeah, I don't. Did you play this?
I did. I played it. I beat it. I liked it. I will say it is gorgeous. It's still a game today that people love to bring up when games come out and they're like, these graphics suck. Look at what we could do in 2015. Every time it's always Batman Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
It's like the lighting and the dark and griminess of it is top notch, which is why Suicide Squad's so upsetting. But yeah, I thought, the Batman trilogy is a series of games that I don't hold in my heart like a lot of people do. I think they're excellent games, but for people who know me, I tend to not latch on to superhero stories too much. Like it's hard for me to get to the emotional highs that I think they want me to when everybody's dressed up like a silly person. But that's just me. As terms of a game, it's nothing. It's it is incredibly fun to fly off of a building, do a cool stealth takedown. The combat is top tier, but I couldn't tell you a single plot point of it, like at this point.
Aw.
Aw. And I do remember the Batmobile not being as annoying as some people said it was. Like that's kind of another takeaway. It's like when this game came out, because Arkham Asylum and Arkham City were 9.5s out of 10s, this game, I think, had an 86 on OpenCritic, and that seemed like a disappointment for some people. They're like, wait, it's not another 9.5? And a lot of it, there was performance issues.
Yeah, the PC version was fucked at launch.
Yeah, there's performance issues, and I remember people were just like, Batmobile is a little heavy-handed. But I know this is obviously one of your favorites, and it's a very good game. It's just, it's a me thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things.
Yeah, again, we're taking a break from the Game of the Year flashback, but yeah, I hold Batman Arkham Knight and probably one of the greatest games of all time for me personally. I've probably beaten it 4 or 5 times, and I can't say many games that would fall into.
You don't like to do that.
Like I said, I got all the achievements on Xbox. I think, again, it was the marriage of everything. It was they brought everyone from Batman the Animated Series and brought them to this game. As you mentioned, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. Which, fun fact, before this, Mark Hamill said he was done with that version of the Joker. So it was a surprise to have the Joker back and voiced by Mark Hamill. That was such a great treat. But yeah, I think it was a culmination of everything that the franchise needed to be, and that was be Batman in Gotham. Like, patrol the streets of Gotham City as Batman with the Batmobile. And this game did it perfectly. It's just the perfection of everything they built on. There's so many industry trends out there, but the free flow combat is a huge trend. We see that in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
A lot of other franchises are copying that combat, and I still think this is the best game to do it. I mean, nothing got you the power fantasy of doing Batman, and just how simple a triangle and the devastation it would wreak in the game from him doing some kind of CQC close quarters combat on some dudes. And yeah, it's a wonderful game. All the Batman's rogues are perfectly represented. There's so many in this game, especially with the DLC added. That and I disagree about the Batmobile as well. I think it is probably, if you're a completionist, used too much. But as far as the normal game itself, it's fine. Yeah.
Is it your favorite of the trilogy?
It is, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like City. But
yeah, we put City on our best top 50 games of all time, and I will, and I know most people agree with that. And as long as an Arkham game got on that list of our top 50 games, I was fine. So it's not.
I was the pusher of that, because that was the one that I was going to allow in.
But no, man, just Arkham Knight is so great. And
So
as you mentioned, that's the disappointing part of where Rocksteady is now, is that they were a peak company making the most perfect superhero game of all time. And
yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, this was Dragon Age Inquisition, and then Suicide Squad was Anthem. It's like, what happened? I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm just waiting for Nick to tell me he's buying an Oculus Quest so we can go play Arkham Shadow. Batman Arkham Shadow, which is supposed to be amazing too. So
yeah.
Not
made by Rocksteady.
That one's gotta hurt.
That's camouflage, and it's different voice cast, but that it looks amazing. Yeah.
Okay, Christmas.
Why did I plant that seed in my head? I have other things right now.
I know, you need a TV first.
TV first, and then I got to fight off the PlayStation Pro urge, and then we'll go from there. But
yeah. Well, if only they could have released it on PSVR 2, and then you can maybe I could at least do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder. That's a good question.
Facebook probably just paid through the nose. That's my only.
Yeah, but I wonder if there is a year from now is Arkham Shadow on PSVR 2 or something.
Yeah, because Camouflage did the Iron Man game. It wouldn't be anything to do with them. So I think Zuckerberg brought out the paybook or the checkbook and did that. But it's a couple ones where it's like Half-Life Alyx. What are you guys doing? Batman, what are you guys doing?
Does Valve need the money? No. So maybe they just don't. We'll never put it on another platform. So.
Well, Meta need the money.
Yeah.
Well, because Valve doesn't have anything to do with this, right?
No, but you mentioned Alyx.
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay. Yes, I did.
But I congratulations, Jesse, all around. I'm so glad that you love the game and that you were able to platinum it, and you sound like you loved it just as much as I do. So I'm happy for you.
I was expecting a 10 after that review. That's good. 9s are awesome.
All right. So, John, we've got a lot of topics here. We'll just pass it back and forth. So I'm going to throw it to you. You can, from all the things that you have listed, what do you want to talk about first?
All right. Well, we're just going to get the quick one out of the way. But I did, on your recommendation, beat and platinum. Thank goodness you're here, which was a treat. It was very much a treat. Cole Supper is the developer. This is a game that I don't even know. It's hard to even classify it as a game, but I would be hard pressed to find a more condensed 3-hour experience that I'm gonna giggle in more. In fact, I've gotten one of my other close friends to play this game who very much likes British humor. I've tried to convince him, or I got a guy at work playing it, another one, and I'm trying to convince another. It's a game that I can recommend to almost anybody because you're gonna go through this. You're in this tiny little town. You can jump and you can smack. I'm sure Nick probably talked about this on his review of it, but I have a the memory of a goldfish, so I apologize. But it's just, I don't know. There's probably a good 20, 30 instances of something making me chuckle, giggle, laugh, and smile, enjoy myself. I'll give one. I'm not going to say many because part of it is in getting it yourself. But like one thing, you come up across this little food truck guy, and there's a dude bent around. And you hit him, and it smacks his butt, and then he turns around and closes the door and says, it says "closed due to smacky bum bum." There's like I don't know what this is, but it's silly and it's really endearing. So. For $20, I think I got it on sale because they were just trying. I think it was like his first 25% off sale. Totally worth it. But know what you're getting going in. Don't expect a robust gaming experience. Don't expect something you're going to sink a lot of time into. This is a weekend game, but I wholly recommend it. It's an 8. It's an 8 out of 10. I mean, I find it hard to give it more than that just based on what it is, but it's one of the funny. Like, it's hard to do humor anytime, let alone in video games, and it's not belly laughing South Park stick of truth funny, but it's just if you're a fan of like British humor, Rick and Morty type, like interdimensional cable type shit, it's pretty jolly, pretty great.
It's amazing, and I like your weekend game. I'm getting into those. I kind of like the idea of these games. Just, they're just bite sized. You beat them, you get them off your chest. You get a varied experience typically in these smaller games. Like, you're not going to play another game like Thank Goodness You're Here. Like,
nope. And that's what I'm. I look for that more and more as I get older. Is I need something that I haven't experienced really ever, or at least something that feels unique. It's why spaceship battles in Star Wars feel bland now. It's like I feel like I've seen this before, or any first-person shooter. It's like I spent my childhood so much playing first-person shooters that it takes a truly unique one where I view like something like Doom does a different take on it than as opposed to like a Dead Island 2 or something.
Black Ops 6.
A Black Ops 6, yeah. So highly recommend that for everybody out there. I don't think you'll regret it. Just watch a quick little video first so you know what you're getting yourself into. But yeah, dude, like this was there was 3 games that I bought, and you know this, but I don't think I've told the story on the show. Is I had there's a couple games on PlayStation Store I wanted to buy, but they didn't have physical copies, and so I didn't want to spend my hard-earned money that my wife could track. So I wanted to, I had $250 worth of GameStop credit. So I was like, well, let me go to GameStop, buy a $50 PlayStation Network card, put that on there. I bought Thank Goodness You're Here, a game we're about to talk about, and then Blasphemous 2, which I haven't really gotten into yet. But it was great downloading all of those. I did with my GameStop credit effectively, put them on my console, beat Thank Goodness You're Here within 2 days, got the platinum, deleted it. It did the same thing with the next one. It's like, I love that feeling. I know there's a lot of people out there that go, I need 100 hours and it's all good. But man, do I love the feeling of finding something I love like this, seeing all there is to it, getting rid of it, and moving on to the next thing. It's just, It's for me. It's for the middle-aged man.
And there's very few times that I get John on an indie game. Like, I'm recommending him the indie game. Usually it's always the other way around.
Do you remember what prompted you to buy this? It was just you're like, I'm gonna give it a shot.
It was like just a weekend where I was like, what am I gonna play? And I had eyes on this for some reason. I don't know why.
And then it got the good review scores.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it was just like, okay, I'll just do this, and loved it. So cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Your turn.
My turn. We're gonna go with my press X for drama that I normally bring at the beginning of the episode, but we're going to talk about Spider-Man 2. During New York Comic-Con, it was announced that Spider-Man 2 is indeed coming to PC, which we predicted in our State of Play predictions episode that it was imminent. And indeed it was. They just waited a little bit to announce it. It is coming to PC this January. But they also confirmed Spider-Man 2 DLC is not happening. Something John and I also talked on this show about whether we were sure or not. Sony's DLC strategy is kind of weird. They've been waiting very long to announce DLC, and then it comes out. We saw Horizon DLC announced at the Game Awards come out that April. God of War Valhalla DLC just over a year later after God of War came out, so it was hard to pin down specifically, but it is indeed not happening, which would not be a big deal, except that in the Insomniac leaks, there's some leaked slides that showed that DLC was in fact initially planned, including 3 DLCs. I forget the first one. It's some obscure Spider-Man villain. The second one was Carnage, and the third one was Across the Spider-Verse related.
Chameleon was the first one.
Oh, it was Chameleon? And then that would lead into a Game of the Year packaging with all the DLC inside. So the internet is not happy. Twitter and the Spider-Man game subreddits are blaming the leaks for why this is, as a reason as this is being canceled.
Blame the
that
things we weren't supposed to know about.
That Insomniac had to change paths after the leak because they had to spend money on other things like closing these leaks and other issues that have come from this. So they're blaming the leaks. John,
They're blaming the leaks.
but what do you take from all this? I mean, first things first. What do you feel about no DLC for Spider-Man 2?
I think it's fine. I mean, I played the DLC for the first one, and I thought that they were fine and fun, but weaker than any part of the main campaign. So on that standpoint, I think it's fine because despite what a lot of people on the internet might say or believe, I believe that Insomniac knows what's better for this game than I do.
Yes.
And what I'm guessing happened, there's nothing more than my gut feeling, is that we knew that a Venom game was supposedly in development. I still think it's in development. They probably had to make a decision. It probably got a little bit bigger than they were planning initially. That tends to happen with almost everything. So they were like, look, we don't have enough resources for all of it. Maybe we do, maybe we don't, or it's going to push the deadlines out past where we want them to be. Is there any way we can close these stories within Venom itself? That's going to be my guess is what's happening, because I don't see a world where Sony and Insomniac, these supposed leaders in cinematic narrative experiences on video games would just leave a hanging, a cliffhanger like that with Carnage and with Chameleon. So I think they're going to fix those. They probably just decided, look, we can't spread ourselves so thin that we have this team working on Carnage, this team working on Chameleon, this team working on the Across the Spider-Verse thing. We got Wolverine going, we got Venom going. They're probably like, look, we gotta figure this out. And if you're out here blaming a leak, grow up, grow up, because first of all, it definitely didn't have anything to do with, the reason it got canceled. There's no world that a business is going to be like, that thing that can actually make us money, we're not going to do that one. We're going to just worry about closing leaks, which I don't even know how much that would cost anyway. That's a silly thing to say. But I think it's just one of those, things get canceled all the time. And I would fully expect Insomniac to tell the story that they want to. It's just, people change plans. I'm not going to fault somebody for changing plans. That's kind of insane. So people can get mad. I know they want to play more Spider-Man 2. I get that. But I got good news for you. There's going to be a Spider-Man 3 and a Venom, and there'll probably be a Spider-Man 4, and there'll probably be a Spider-Man 5. And then probably after that, some sort of Across the Spider-Verse game or something. So don't worry, folks. You'll get your Spidey.
Yeah, and I'm with you. It's not because of the leak. I think the importance of DLC is changing.
Good point. I agree.
With the rise of digital, there's no reason to entice people to not sell their games physically anymore because they're buying the games and there's no way to sell back a digital game. And I really think the return on investment on DLC, I just don't think they sell. Outside of your big DLCs that are Elden Ring, Erdtree, or Cyberpunk, Phantom Liberty, that these smaller DLCs,
the standalone.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's
the type of DLC that makes impact now.
Yeah, and those are a DLC. They're more expansions,
Right.
They're not the traditional this is going to add 1 to 2 hours, which we'll talk about the Alan Wake DLC. That I just don't think they see the return on investment, and I think these half games that Sony is currently doing is probably the strategy going forward.
Absolutely. I don't know why. Yeah. With development times, times ballooning. Of course, DLC development times are going to balloon too. It wouldn't just exist for a main game. So if you're releasing a DLC, look at Elden Ring, that was 2 years after the fact, and that was fine for a lot of us because that game is a 10 out of 10, and it's not really this cohesive narrative thing. It is, but it isn't. But yeah, if you're putting out Spider-Man 2 DLC 20 months after the fact, I don't want to go back, man.
Right.
Like you're past it. So it's a good point. Yeah, I would think that definitely that has something to do with it.
And there might be maybe they see like Spider-Man fatigue. If you're going from, we've had 3 games in 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, technically, if you include the DLC for the first game, that's 4 things. And they're probably maybe like, well, why do we want a year of DLC just to go into again Spider-Man half step again if Venom is true and coming next year, which is also suggested by the leaks, that are people just going to get burnt out?
Yeah. I honestly like this move. I don't know if that's controversial. I live in a world where I don't have enough time, so that's a me problem. But
I think it's like a wait and see, right? Like if Spider-Man Venom comes out as a thing, and it's a meteor package, it covers the Chameleon and the Carnage and all those story beats.
I still got to talk about Silk too.
Yep.
I mean,
Spoilers.
Who's Silk?
The game's over a year old.
Yeah, and also I mean in terms of spoilers, okay. Oh, they exist.
So we'll see what happens. Insomniac is very busy, as we know, and released so many games. In that same period, they released a Ratchet game. So
yeah, they're unreal.
So they're busy, and like I said, just wait and see. We'll see what happens with whatever the next Insomniac game is.
Drama crushed. All right, Nick. As much as I want to talk about the other game I'm playing, I'm gonna save that for a second because you also played it, and I feel like I just want to talk about it. Let's talk about Black Ops 6 coming to Game Pass finally. So the reviews are in for the new Call of Duty Black Ops 6, a much improved 81 right now on OpenCritic compared to last year's 58 for Modern Warfare 3. Now, I believe these reviews are simply for the campaign, so any of the multiplayer suite, I don't believe that's being reviewed yet, but obviously off to a much better start than they were last year. But big test of this game is how is it going to impact Xbox and overall Game Pass subscribers, right? The whole genesis and reason for the Activision Blizzard purchase of $69 billion was to get their hands on this behemoth franchise, right? Like a lot of the drama, speaking of press X for drama, a lot of the drama around this whole series was with that purchase was this series. So we got a little bit of initial reporting. Now, these are still kind of in initial reports phases, so finalized numbers and things like that I don't think we'll see for a while, but we did get a little bit of a taste of what this game's going to do. So initial reports from Gadgets 360. Now, they talked to GameIndustry.biz, so I feel a little bit better about this source because I don't know who Gadgets 360 is, but they spoke with them. They seem to point to a 3 to 4 million subscriber increase, which is good, but will it be enough? So, most said that the game would add millions of new subscribers to the service, but unit sales of the popular military shooter would consequently take a hit. So, according to this report published last week, Wedbush chief Michael Pachter expects, he's an industry analyst, Black Ops 6 to add between 3 and 4 million new subscribers. However, he also claimed that Game Pass access would lead up to 6 million lost sales for the game. This was based on the assumption that 25% of Game Pass subscribers would buy the game anyway, which I find high. I don't know why you would do that, but the analyst told GameIndustry.biz that Call of Duty on Game Pass would hurt the game's sales and initially cost Microsoft, but in-game monetization opportunities will likely cover a larger audience with Game Pass. There is no doubt that adding the latest Call of Duty will be expensive, at least initially, for Microsoft. However, Call of Duty is increasingly a live service game first and foremost that monetizes strongly in-game. Microsoft will be trading premium full game sales in exchange for a bigger audience that can be monetized in-game instead. All analysts, however, said that the long-term success of bringing Call of Duty to Game Pass would depend on whether Microsoft could keep those players on the subscription service beyond Black Ops 6's launch period. According to the report, a lot of players could end up leaving Game Pass or downgrading their subscription after playing Black Ops 6. What's your initial thoughts, Nick, when hearing 3 to 4 million? Do you think that's do you think they're happy with that initial burst? To put it into context, it's about 10% increase. So Sarah Bond said they had about 34 million subscribers. So they're seeing about a 10% boost. would they be feeling, you think?
It's hard for me to say because I don't know what it normally sells on Xbox or PC. I know it's like a top seller every year. It's the Call of Duty, even that horribly reviewed one that you just mentioned. It was like one of the best selling games of last year. So like the fuck it matters.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You buy the game anyway. So I don't know. Again, we had that topic measuring a game's success, and I don't know. It seems low to me for a Call of Duty game that is the best seller of every year. Because to be a bestseller of the year, you're looking 20 to 30 million, like that range to be one of the best selling games of the year. I forget what Hogwarts Legacy, that's why it was a big deal. Hogwarts Legacy outsold it. Was that last year? Was Hogwarts Legacy last year? God,
yeah. And because Elden Ring was 2 years ago. Yeah, because Elden Ring got up to like 25.
Yeah, so it seems low to me, especially again, Game Pass is Xbox and PC. I would think it'd be higher, but again, are these people going to stick around? Are they checking it out because they're Game Pass subscribers already, and are they going to leave? But I don't know. It seems good. 4 million seems good, but I mean, you're talking one of the biggest games on the planet. It feels like it should be doing more.
Yeah, and I agree. I do. When I saw that first number, I was kind of expecting higher, and I don't know why. But yeah, I mean, if they're just now approaching 40 million subscribers, I mean, I don't know. I would wonder. I want to know what Satya Nadella is saying about that, because 69 billion, man, that's a lot of money to make up, and it's not. I don't think they look at it as a business. Be like, we have to, we're starting at negative 69 billion. We need to see that number get to zero, and then I don't think they're looking at it that way. But I do know that they've had some big, they obviously have big dreams for Game Pass. They have since they instituted it. That's the only way they feel like they can compete. But, there's Mike. Have you ever heard the name Michael Pachter? He's like a famous.
Yeah. Don't you? He had a show on Game Trailers.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, there was an article a while ago that says, he thought that Game Pass could, by 2034, in 10 years, reach 200 million subscribers. And it's like, there's no chance, right, that's possible. And I remember seeing of the reports as well saying like, oh yeah, we anticipate to be to 110 million by 2030. And, we anticipate to be.
You'd be talking like, at that point, you're talking like cloud gaming is so huge at that point.
Right.
that people are subscribing on their phone.
Well, I mean, even here's like I don't know where this is. Oh, this is from the above figures are estimates based on Xbox's leaked slide presentation from fiscal year 2022. And if you look at it, Nick, unfortunately for our listeners, they have a pie chart of the 110 million that they expect in 2030 to be 58 million on consoles, 20 million on PC, and 32 million on cloud. So, I think they need to really. I don't know. It's just. I don't think it's enough, but I think we also do need to see, like, Matt Piscatella at the end of the month, like what do the sales look like comparative to previous years? We can start to analyze that data a little bit more, but it did seem a little bit soft, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring it today, just because I know that this is the test, right? Short of them throwing out $8 billion to Rockstar and be like, we want Grand Theft Auto 6 on Game Pass exclusively, which will never happen. This is the biggest test you can have, and I wonder how they're feeling. I feel like it's not quite where they wanted it to be, but it is a genuine markup. You can say that at least. It definitely moved the needle.
And again, it is a franchise just like Grand Theft Auto that just sells all the time. Like it just never stops. Like for all this year and next year, people will be buying Call of Duty. When they get the chance, so it'll be interesting. Like you said, on investor calls, they're gonna have to talk about this, and so maybe by January, and then especially by March, April, we'll kind of hear how they really feel about it, because they will have to talk about it.
Which will be like, who wants to buy Activision Blizzard? $50 billion.
I mean, they have Indiana Jones coming up, so there's some. And Avowed will be out by the time March, April rolls around. So Game Pass is at least getting big games, but we'll see if it does anything.
I think those Avowed and those games like that feel like Starfield-esque things, right? Where it's like doesn't quite do it as much as they were hoping, but we'll see. Maybe it's a slow ball, right? And we're at the top of the mountain, the little snowball is starting, and then we're just waiting
Yeah, I
Perfect
think
for the
that's
biggest
where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I think Game Pass is in a very good position this year and into next year as they get Doom, the Dark Ages, and Fable, and more titles consistently, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they get a Game of the Year candidate finally. That we'll see what that does for Game Pass when it's getting a steady stream of big games.
Maybe Black Ops 6. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's all I got. Obviously it's a thing that I think will show up back on this show every once in a while, if we get some data around it, but interesting nonetheless.
All right.
Your turn.
We're going to talk about Alan Wake 2, the Lake House DLC, the final DLC for my Game of the Year for if it came out in 2024 or 2023.
Interesting way to
Alan
phrase
Wake
that.
2.
For my Game of the Year, if these caveats were fulfilled.
And yeah, this is the kind of like we've talked about before. The second DLC for Control teased Alan Wake 2. Now this one is teasing Control 2. And so in this DLC, you play as a Federal Bureau of Control agent, Kieran Estive, played by Janina Gavankar, who is...
I know that name.
Yeah,
she was...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She was the lead in Battlefront 2
Oh.
as well.
Janina. Ooh, she was in Borderlands.
And this takes place before the events of Alan Wake 2, in which she is investigating the Lake House, which is a FBC facility in charge of monitoring Cauldron Lake, which is where a lot of the events of Alan Wake 2 take place. Yeah, if you're a fan of Control, of course, this is going to get you in the feels, going back to the brutalist 70s cubicles of of Control, and reading internal memos and having a lot of that stuff there. And then, of course, getting the nice big payoff of a huge tease of what Control 2 is. Nice. This is here for you. It takes about hour to 2 hours to complete, based on how fast you can do some of the puzzles. But it's standard fare. It controls just like Alan Wake 2. There's a neat gun you get in it, but it's standard fare. It's just okay. Again, to our point about DLC is like, well, they really can't do much when the DLC planned is like 1 to 2 hours, But like I said, if you wanted a tease of Control, it is here big time, and the sequel to Control. And that's exciting. Like just seeing that the slightest of teases of Remedy's not next game as we'll get to, but their game after their next game.
It's probably 2026. Control.
Yeah.
Control 2.
It's going to be a minute, and but for those hoping to have some of the powers Jesse got in Control, they're not here. It's a standard third-person shooter fare. So
Janina was also in Ragnarok, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, she was a character that got cut from Ragnarok.
I was gonna say, I looked at a picture, I was like, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
But she was also in Redfall and Forspoken. Little ups and little downs.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, I know we've talked about what's the darn boy's name in God of War? Atreus game. Maybe that character will be in that.
That's true.
So,
all right. So, did you score Lake House, or are we not scoring DLC? It feels like short and kind of hard to score.
Yeah, I mean it would be lower, so I'd probably like a 7 out of 10. There's no need to rush out and buy and play this. I just watch it on YouTube if you want to see with the teaser for Control 2.
Well, I did get pal of the show Will sent me a nice little picture with a little copy of a game in his hand. It was Alan Wake 2, the full edition. So I think that's in there.
Yeah, it is.
It's got all that stuff. So when it's got Silent Hill 2 coming from you soon. Got that. Maybe I'll get back to Resident Evil 2. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Next up.
Yep.
All right. Let's do Xbox partner preview. So last week, I don't even remember what day it was. What day of the week was that? Wednesday?
It was it was the Thursday after our last recorded episode.
Okay. All right, so a while ago at this point.
Yeah.
Time flies. We got the Xbox Partner Preview, which features some updates from a lot of third-party partners and things coming to not only Xbox, but I believe everything they showed in this thing is coming to PlayStation as well. So
if it isn't already, yeah.
Right. So it's it's kind of a games for everybody, but definitely a smaller little bit of of a showing, but. I didn't really think about this. I'm not going to go through every announcement.
No, please do not.
Because there's a lot of wasted time.
I think like, I don't know. Did you have something you wanted to touch on?
So, I mean, the one game that I want to kind of talk about, well, I want to talk about Subnautica 2 first of all, because I think that is a big announcement. It was rumored and, but not ever confirmed. But Subnautica is one of those sneaky bigger games than you give credit for. For those who don't know what it is, it's basically a survival game that takes place on an ocean planet where you kind of crash land and then you start to, get bigger or more and more equipment, more and more resources. You fuse things together. You get to now I got a little thing that makes me swim faster. Now I got a base. Now and it keeps going. But what makes Subnautica special is how it just keeps going further and further, where it's like you think, you can't dive possibly any further, and you keep diving further down, and these large creatures, like, it becomes a weird horror game for a lot of people, where you kind of sense these just huge lurking creatures.
What's the term when you're afraid of big things?
There's megalophobia, which is big things, but thalassophobia is the fear of the ocean, which a lot of people have.
Understandable.
It's a weird place. But so this is a sequel to that. Subnautica got a proper expansion, one of those standalone DLCs. But this is a full-on sequel on a new planet. They didn't show a ton of it, obviously, but
and it's coming to Game Pass too.
It is coming to Game Pass, so I that's a big one for them to get. I think that one will be a sneaky. A lot of people are going to play this game, for lack of a better word. So. I think they said early access in 2025, no official date for it, but Subnautica 2 will be one that it's probably going to get me. Subnautica 1 is one of those games that I've tried like 6 different times to try and get it to grab me, and I refuse to be beaten by the things like this. So, when this one comes out, it inevitably gets like an 88 and 89 and say it's better than everything, the first one, then I'll try and get annoyed about it, but that's what I do. Let's see. What else? No, that one sucks. Phasmophobia coming to consoles. I think it's an old game on PC. It's probably been out for a long, long time there, but I know it's a game that a lot of people love, and to come to consoles is kind of cool. Never mind, it came out in 2020. It's not that old.
That's pretty old.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, at this point. And then let's see. And then Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. This is a game we've seen a lot of in the past, but it's got that unfortunate naming convention. I feel like Wolong and what's the other one? Black Myth Wukong and Wolong and Wu Chang. They're hard to keep straight in your head. So you kind of Phantom Blade. I feel like is another one, but just looks like another really, really solid Souls-like kind of. Faster Souls-like though type game, coming out of China.
Yep,
which is cool,
and direct to Game Pass again. So
I imagine all these
it can be their Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah. And then lastly, Nick alluded to this a little bit earlier, but FBC Firebreak, which is the next game from Remedy.
How unfortunate.
How unfortunate indeed. But I mean, I was reading comments about this one. People seem pretty high on it. It seems to be a 3-player cooperative shooter set in the Federal Bureau of Control as deadly otherwise forces lay siege to their headquarters. So they could make it cool, but what I will say is like the art style really threw me. Where Control and Alan Wake, very grounded. This almost seemed a little cartoony and colorful, and like they're probably like, okay, it's a multiplayer focused game, so it needs to be a little more vibrant. It needs to have more personality. But something about that combination just doesn't. It didn't feel like it was in this universe. It didn't feel like I was playing it even took me, I don't know, 30 minutes after the show where I was like, oh, FBC's Federal Bureau of Control. Oh, like I just didn't even put it together because I was just like, that's kind of unfortunate that Remedy's going to spend their time doing one of these, but they're not for us. So I have not a lot of positive things to say about multiplayer games in general. So maybe, as my mother
they
said,
have fun with the objects of power, which were a fun thing in Control.
Some of the guns looked unique. Like there was like that crank gun that was like throwing out some ooze. I don't know. If they try and get really creative with it, they could make it work. But I know Nick's just bummed out. He doesn't want Remedy to be wasting their time like that.
It's gonna be DOA. Like there's nothing that it's doing that's gonna stand out. Again,
I don't know. I might. I might say it's got a chance.
It is coming to Game Pass and PlayStation Plus Extra Essential, maybe. It is coming to both, so it'll be free on those services. But I know
I wonder if this is a project that was kind of incubated and thought of because, as we've talked about, Remedy is seemingly constantly battling for money. Like they're always needing. So if we can just hopefully resources were low on this one. They famously made Control for $20 million, so I'd imagine this is probably a cheaper project for them. Get something out there. Hope to God it sticks, because if it is, then they can solve their money problems and then they can just do what they want to do as opposed to.
It's true.
I don't know, but I can't fault them for trying. Multiplayer. When it works hard, but. Other than that, there's The Legend of Babu and Wheel World and Mistfall Hunter, and it's just a lot of games that, like, if they're your specific kind of stuff, maybe. I will say that Mouse PI for Hire, very interesting art style.
Yeah, we've seen it before.
And the Yakuza game seems just batshit insane, and like I'm kind of want you to play it so I can be like, all right, is this something that seems as silly and goofy as it is? But I don't know. Overall, it's pretty weak little partner preview.
Yeah, for whatever reason, our poll was better and higher on this one than our previous, the state of play. Even
it's expectations, man. That's all. I think that's what it is. Because when people see PlayStation, they have these like we do. Okay, cool. What is house market? And you don't get that, and then you walk away from it disappointed. This, you're like, I don't know what the fuck's gonna be there. And you're like, oh, cool,
yeah,
a thing, and then you walk away from it feeling okay. So, I don't. I mean, with the exception of Subnautica 2, I don't think there was anything that was like, oh, well, look at that.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing that happened in our 2-week hiatus. They announced the voice cast for Clair, Obscura, Expedition 33. Again, this was one of the games in the Xbox E3, not E3 event, that kind of came out of nowhere and blew everyone away. We knew at the time over that video, Ben Starr talked over it of Final Fantasy 16 fame. He played the main protagonist in that game, but they announced the voice cast for this game, and it's pretty good. They're spending some money.
That's an undersell.
We'll save the big one for last, but again, Ben Starr, Shayla Nix, Kirsty Ryder. Jennifer English, as many of you know as Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3, one of the best companions in that game. She's in it. Charlie Cox, if you're not familiar with him, that is Daredevil. That is the Marvel MCU version of Daredevil. He is going to be in it, and then they win big. They got Andy Serkis.
Hell yeah, they
did. To be in the game, and that is a huge land.
Yeah.
Granted, Andy Serkis is not a stranger to video games,
but he's arguably the greatest voice actor of all time.
Yeah,
like I would champion him as that.
Yeah, you may know him as a Golem from Lord of the Rings, the Planet of the Apes movies. He was in Heavenly Sword as the bad guy to another PS3.
Was he really?
Console locked game. Yeah, he's the bad guy in Heavenly Sword, and then
wasn't he Snoke?
Snoke, yep, in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and he was in Andor, and
he's Null in Venom, and he's in the Sandman. He's in the Batman. He's Alfred in the Batman.
Yeah, he's like
the man.
He's a big get, and again, and there was more footage. This was also accompanied by a proper trailer for the game, and it's. This could be big.
Yeah.
This is a sleeper, not so much a sleeper. I think a lot of people are gonna vote for this game as one of the most anticipated of next year. But
only people who pay attention to the industry. Like this is not capturing anybody who doesn't like go on to IGN.com.
Will it be on the list for the Game Awards?
On the list in what way?
So the Game Awards always has the most anticipated game of next year category.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be on there. Won't win. Grand Theft Auto 6, unfortunately. Yeah. But dude, this is probably in the running for just biggest potential of a game. This and something like Exodus, maybe that Matthew McConaughey game where it's like, what could this be? But just the animations that are shown in the combat and this stuff with like your classic turn-based combat, which I know some people don't like, but if it's done well, it's can be really strategic and fun. Coupled with a cool story and an amazing voice cast, it's like they're pressing all the right buttons, but it is a team that is unproven. So Sandfall Interactive, like almost every new team, I'm sure it's made up of like veterans of X and X and X and Y and Z, but like how well will they work together? We don't know. So, I don't know, man. Like, it's going to be cool. But, like, I'm trying also with this one specifically. Like, I will admit, I listened to you and Pal, the show, Nick, talk about it. And I almost want to, like, stay out of it. Just because I don't know. Like, I just want it to come in and be like, yeah, it's a 92. And be like, cool, great, let's go play it. But, like, if I start to hype myself up, then I just kind of get myself to be like, well.
Fair enough.
But I'm dead inside, so.
but yeah, again, the casting, the gameplay, and the initial story premise that we've talked about already. This is a game we're going to constantly tell you to keep an eye out for.
Yeah,
and could do that. Could be a 90s type game. It definitely has the potential.
Are you going to see Andy Serkis next month?
No.
Oh, bummer.
No, the day I'm going, he's not there.
Oh. Doing a Comic-Con, but he's going to be there, but not that day. Bummer. He's also probably super expensive. So, all right, Nick, save the best for last. At least I hope that's the case, but I know my feelings on it. Another game on that trilogy of games that I bought with my $50 was a game that recently came out called Neva, Neva. It's a game from the makers of Grease, Nomada Studios, published by Devolver Digital. It's a 4-hour-long, hand-painted, side-scrolling game with light action elements and a no non-verbalized story. I loved this game. I loved this experience. It's incredibly beautiful. It's incredibly top-down music, like everything about it. I think they nailed. It tells a story of I don't even think she has a name, no name protagonist, but with a wolf companion, Neva, where you kind of journey through a couple different seasons, and this land is being overtaken by a darkness. Insert any Studio Ghibli movie ever or whatever. It's a pretty normalized story, but what the game I think does a masterful job at doing is building a relationship silently with this little white dog that you clearly care about, and who also weirdly somehow you can tell clearly cares about you. And like it just creates this synergy where you're going through a level, and like I think of the first time specifically where I thought this game at first, like I didn't research a lot about it. I think I even on the show was like, oh, what's this? Oh, look at that. That looks like fun. I should play this. And you yelled at me. I thought it was just going to be like Grease, where you just kind of go from start A to B. There's no combat. You just get through it. And I was in for that. And then you start to get to slice things. I'm like, oh, sick. But these little black hands grab my doggy do, and I'm away from him. And then they get up in my, and I freaked out. I was like, no, I got to get back. I got to start slashing. And it's like, I like freaked out because I had to get to my dog. And then you get to her, and you there's a button to pet, and you console it, and it makes you feel good. But this is exactly, we talk about weekend games. We're talking about short experiences, things that nail, that kind of know what they're setting out to do. I talk about that a lot. Similar to the Thank Goodness You're Here. It's like, it's not trying to do more. It's not trying to be this open world experience. It's not trying to have this fleshed out character model. That's not what we're going for. What we're going for is a beautiful, full artistic vision, short exercises restraint in a lot of ways, I think, where they could probably have branched out and done the combat a little more, but I don't know how that would have added to it. They could have made it longer, but I think I would have felt a little long in the tooth at that point. Little weak with the trophies, but like whatever. I loved this game, and I recommended it to Nick, and I was very happy to see that he played it over the weekend. I got a little worried because I noticed you stopped at like the end of a chapter, and I was like, oh, I hope he didn't get burned out. But then I checked the next day, and you had the platinum, so that made me happy. What do you think about Neva, Nick?
So John, obviously, as you just heard, really recommended it, and we don't get a lot of chances on this show where me and John have played a game at the same time, outside of the big releases, specifically Sony first-party releases, that John and I get to play a game. But Yeah, to everything that John said, it's a Metroidvania is probably the best way to describe, but light. Like
Very light.
you're not backtracking linear levels, but the same like combat arenas, getting more abilities as the story progresses, getting a little bit more combat options, but yeah, it doesn't have the same depth of a Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. It keeps it very light and simple, but I think what you get out of it is a hand-drawn, artistic story with beautiful vistas, beautiful moments. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't mention Studio Ghibli because this is everything about a Studio Ghibli movie.
I mean, I did say the black stuff is kind of like insert any Studio Ghibli.
Oh,
thing.
you did? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
if you did,
but not like the art, not the.
But a lot of the elements just feel pulled straight from it, and like it's like you said, you just watch a video of this game, and it does a nice job of like having you just run through an area or climb up a wall, and you're just taking in everything, the art and everything, and it's used to perfection in one of my favorite moments of the game. There's not really like temples of sort, but there are moments where you get into a hub world and you kind of got to go left or right and kind of complete some puzzles to unlock the other area. One of those was based on like reflections in the water, and it was gorgeous and fun to play. Like just the gameplay elements.
That's like the enemies are invisible, but you can see them in the reflection.
Yes.
So you have to kind of start like doing a cool little dance.
And same with the platforming as well. And yeah, I think it's just a tight, niched, perfect package of and even like the combat, it's so simple, but it
feels good.
And it's got a weird style to it. Your character is just like this cloaked figure that just, kind of almost like a samurai whips out just a single blade and gets in these amazing combat encounters. And I'm glad you mentioned what's not said, because there's really no dialogue other than you calling out to your dog, which comes out through the dual sense. So you're like, Neva.
Bruma.
That it's just wonderful. It is a complete package of a game, and I also highly recommend it. It is wonderful. It's kind of like, again, why we get into games is kind of like moments like this, experiences like this that you can't kind of get anywhere else, because you're the one controlling it. I'm controlling this Studio Ghibli movie.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it to the end, and that helps build that bond, like John said, whenever your dog's getting attacked, just to like, you're like, there's a little more angst in you because
like,
you're directly involved. And yeah, just a wonderful story. I think they did just such a great job from the opening cinematic to the conclusion. That
I was just about to say, I loved how the game opened and closed. Where it's like, it took me a second to kind of think about it. I was like, wait, is this a time loop?
Yeah.
No, okay. Yeah, it's I think I mentioned the music, but like the music is so fitting into it too. I really would love for people to go out and play this game. Like, if Astrobot didn't come out this year, this would probably be my front runner for Game of the Year right now. And like it's I don't know. It just hit me in the right time. I'm trying to get my wife to play it right now. She kind of did the same thing when Neva got trapped by the little black hand. She's like, wait, no. And like kind of freaked out for a second. It's always cute watching her trying to control things because she doesn't know how to control it. Like her just fingers don't do what they're supposed to do.
I don't know how she'll do, because the platforming does get challenging. It's no cakewalk at any moment.
No, but I did have her put it on story mode, which alleviate. There's no health, so like it doesn't like she can just fumble through it, and it's not too bad. But I'm gonna do it. I've been wrestling with this all weekend, but I'm giving it a 10. I was either 9 or 10, but I just loved everything it did. Could there have been some more robust combat system? Maybe, but again, I think that for what it was going for, like, this is a video game as art-ass game. It's not trying to be Hades. It's not trying to be Dead Cells or Hollow Knight. And I think it did it beautifully, and I love it.
And they add a little bit to combat.
Yeah, you can still, I didn't think I'd be able to shoot out Neva and
yeah, they do enough, and I think, and yeah, it's kind of a story of time. So the dog is little at the start, and then he gets bigger, and that's how they kind of expand on on what you can do, which I think is nicely done as well. But no, it's a visual feast for the eyes. It's a wild adventure.
I made my PlayStation Hub background a picture I took in Neva of, you remember when it's like all red and like there's that wolf sitting on top of like,
yeah.
Ooh, that's cool. Like I want that.
And I think one thing I think Metroidvanias probably could do more is bring a companion with you. So you're not always, because this game does feel very like most Metroidvanias. There's a lot of isolation feeling in this because you're a lone adventurer traversing this taken world, and it's kind of neat that you have a companion getting this through this. So it's not just and I think Brothers game is probably the same way, or A Way Out in other games, but this one I think benefits from it, and I would enjoy that element more and more Metroidvanias of having a companion with you.
Yeah, it was funny watching my wife play it as well. It's like, when you go through a game, you don't really pick up on like a lot of nuance until you either see it again or do it again. And like the beginning of that game when Neva's a tiny little puppy, it doesn't listen, like she's getting distracted by butterflies and she's like running off over here like, hey, come on. When obviously the first time it needs to jump across a gap and you're like kind of encouraging him to to come over.
A lot of nice
so good
touches like that kind of again make
if you're
Neva,
a dog owner. Mm-hmm.
Make Neva feel like more real than just an AI companion. Is those more human quote unquote moments, where she seems like a regular dog, like getting distracted, not sure of that jump, and and you having to help out. It's kind of like could be like a kid. So.
And it is sitting at an 87 on OpenCritic, so it's not just us. Not just us. But
and I agree with John. I'm also on the 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So it is,
hell yeah.
Like again,
wow. We recommended good games to each other, Nick. I'm bumping up. Thank goodness you're here for doing 9. You know what? Just for you.
But highly recommended. It's just put it on your wish list. It is $20, so you can wait for a little bit of a sale. But
is there any part of you that is curious about Greece at all now? I wonder. I mean, like I said, there's no combat, but it is like that same type of platforming and beautiful thing. But it doesn't have the companion. If you're a dog person, it just adds so much.
I don't know. We'll see. I know that was like I probably have it. I think at some point it was an essential PlayStation game.
Yeah,
so
that's got an 86.
So they were the great studio doing great games.
It's also an easy platinum.
Yeah, we both platinum, and look at you. You're kind of on a little late year platinum run.
Yeah, I gotta add 3. A couple to it.
You got 3 within the last few weeks, so you're.
These are my kind of games, man. Like I know it's like it's an internal struggle, it's an external struggle. I struggle with it all the time, but like these are the kind of games that I truly want to play all the time. But I can't ignore, like I'm playing Rebirth, and it's great. It's fucking great. But like it's just like the idea of going home again, and then again, and then again, and then again. And oh my God, Golden Saucer. Holy crap, there's another area? Like, and it's just like, it wears on me. So having something is...
We've talked about it all year. That's why I'm not playing Metaphor right now. And, is that... I can't, it's tough. It's tough to commit, 100 hours to one game,
Speaking of that, fuck around with Balatro at all, bud?
We can get into teases.
We bringing that next week?
We can get into teases. I do have Balatro. I am playing it on my phone. I'll have more to say.
Yeah.
Initial impressions, though, is I just love the presentation. I think it's wonderful, and it knows. There's some video game mechanics that you just see as addicting right away. I just acknowledge it. I'm like,
yep.
Like the chip count is addictive, and
just the sound of it.
And if any poker fan or any card game fan would, or a solitaire fan, you get so much value out of this. There's just a lot of it's amazing how all the things this game does, from all the different card packs and ways you can build a deck that. My most successful deck was not even anywhere close to what you would play in poker.
Right.
So,
do you have a high card build?
No, I had one where no face cards.
Okay, cool. Lots of 3s and 5s.
Yeah, exactly. So it's yeah, it's a cool game, and we can talk about more. Though
course.
it seems like also a very hard game to talk about, but
Yeah.
we'll find a way. But,
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, that and I apologize to John. My plan was to get you Silent Hill 2, but
It's okay.
I Neva came in and took up my life, and then but I'm so close to the end. You know, I'm getting there. I believe I must be an hour away
Okay.
from the ending. But my only complaint still is I liked the mystery around the game, but for the love of God, start peeling that onion a lot faster. Like Jesus Christ! Like is it just going to be the ending of the game, and it's going to be like, oh, like reveal after reveal after reveal. I'm not going to enjoy that as much as as a game that kind of like mix that in more, because it just
Keeps you on the edge of the seat.
yeah. But I will say this is the scariest game I've ever played.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's nonstop, man. It's just so I only can play in bite-sized like chunks, and then it gets to me.
Okay.
You know, so but it is great. I will say that it is a great game. Maybe could use some more weapons in it, but I don't think that's the idea here. Like I said, I don't think it's trying to be the bombastic Fast and Furious.
No, and
of
honestly,
Resident
at the
Evil.
end of every Resident Evil game, I start to get a little irritated when I have 500 rounds of SMG ammo. It's like, well, that's not what this is. That's not what this is supposed to be.
But yeah, like I said, it still perfectly fits in that pantheon of these third-person horror games we've been getting so far. That it's been very good, and I'm still excited to see where it goes. I just like, tell me something.
Yeah, yeah. It's I feel like maybe this is true, maybe it's not, but I feel like modern day storytelling it's different than it was in 1999, like especially old like it's more like, what does it mean? Interpret this. It's a little more nebulous, a little more figure it out. Where like nowadays, I feel like, no, but what does it mean?
Yeah.
So I as somebody who's only ever watched the story.
Well, it's like, to compare it to a horror movie franchise, like the Paranormal Activity and all that stuff. It's like those movies, like they're so slow, like that they just build up at the very end, and then the shit goes crazy and the camera goes crazy. Blair Witch Project, all those things. It's just like, what's happening?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
come on, and it's the same thing, but it's stretched over a 15-hour video game. So, but I plan to have full review, everything, very soon, by next episode, for sure.
Cool. Well, I like what you said about it being the scariest game you ever played.
Because I want to play Dragon Age. I think I really want to play it.
Okay. Well, that'll be great content for the show.
Reviews are out. 83, 84. It's been hovering around.
Where are we
It's
at
still at an 83. So,
Okay.
Very love hate.
I was about to say, it seems very polarizing right now.
So
which is
that really piques my interest. But yeah, I think I really want.
Eurogamer gave it a 5 out of 5. Said it's the best BioWare game ever. Which, whoa.
Yeah, calm down.
IGN gave it a 9.
It's the only BioWare game he's played.
Right. IGN gave it a 9, but then I've seen a lot of like content creators, YouTube people being like, "What the hell happened? This disappointed me so hard." So is that more just people wanting to get clicks on their channel,
Right?
Or what is it?
Or I mean,
that's why you come to here. That's why you come here. We have no agenda. we don't know. We just talk into microphones.
Come on now, like BioWare, like the last big game like this was 10 years ago. Like it's not. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
No,
I think a lot of rose-colored glasses when people look at Inquisition and Dragon Age Origins and 2. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Okay, cool. For me, well, I mean, I guess if you throw Silent Hill 2 my way, I feel like that should just kind of supersede Rebirth, because Rebirth could take another 2 months or 3 months. But I am on chapter 3 of that. So I believe there's 14 chapters, and I feel like a lot of these kind of games that are chapter based, sometimes it's like this chapter takes 17 hours and then the next chapter takes 2.5. So it's like, I don't really know how, I can tell you I completed the first region 100%. I don't know why I decided to do that. Because I shouldn't be complaining about a game taking forever and then also 100%ing it, but it was fun. So I was just doing stuff. But, so yeah, that Blasphemous 2 when I have time for that, because it was half off. I couldn't help it. It's been a game on my wish list forever. I love my Metroidvanias, but I'm feeling a little Metroidvania'd out. Yeah, so I don't know, probably just Rebirthing, man. I'll be rebirthing.
I mean, it's fucking November, my man. Like, we're gonna have to start talking the Game Awards. We're gonna get our PlayStation wrap up in a few weeks.
Yeah,
And
Levi's been MLB showing hard.
Okay.
That's about to be my number one game. So
and then the Game Awards. We're almost a month away, so it's crazy. It's
I know, but dude, like when I installed Rebirth, because I was like, okay, cool, I platinumed these 2 things, like let's move on to the next, feeling good, video games feeling like I want to complete shit. And I was like, I also installed, I don't know if you saw, but Red Dead Redemption 2. I was like, I want to play this really bad for some reason right now. I know. But it's like for some reason right now I really want to play this too, and it's just like
focus on games that came out this year, so we can talk about them at the end of the year.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay,
that's what I'm doing. But it's just like,
and secondly, for the love of God, play some Astrobot. Like the Astrobot DLC is out. 2 courses are out already.
I'm practicing on other accounts so that I can come on and.
It's like I set my time, and I'm like, should I keep going? I'm like, well, I want something to time again. So
so you're waiting for me to beat you to then beat
yeah. I'm beating it, getting the bots, and going,
trying.
okay, I'm good. Especially with like all these fucking other games coming out.
Yeah,
it's like I don't spend too much time in it, but they're fun as hell. And again, more bots are fun. So
yeah, game 95, game of the year, Astrobot.
All right. So I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else on the horizon. I mean, all the games are going to be out by now. Indiana Jones is kind of the last big game of the year. Oh,
yeah,
Brothership.
We're into that point where it's like there might be certain things that pique my Behemoth comes out for VR in December, but yeah, it's the big ones are out.
Yeah, exciting stuff.
Which is crazy.
All right, we ready for the song?
Yeah, you better. Did you pick it?
I did.
You better pick the right one.
I did. Oh, I'm supposed to pick for the right one?
I don't know. I want to see.
Oh, if you want to pick a Neva song, then let's go with that. Okay. I did not go with a Neva
Where
song.
Courage Abide from Neva by the Berlinist.
What's it called again?
Where Courage Abide.
All right, we'll go with
it's a
that.
Dumb name, but
we'll go with that since
slow little burn. Give it a minute. It picks up, and then it gets awesome.
Again, one of the best things about gaming is being surprised. Who would have put Neva at the? We had seen it in showcases and not even talked about it.
No, it wasn't until it came out in '88, and then I read a review. I was like, "Oh, this is one of the best experiences I've ever." All right, fine. Fine.
Sold.
Yep.
All right, so enjoy the song from Neva. If you have some time, play it. Please play it.
Yes.
Support them.
Yes.
Give them some of your monies and just enjoy.
Tell them who sent you.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, that's it. We will be back next week with our normal show, Up to 6 Things, and we hope you are there to listen. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Never.